Welcome, everybody. My name is Jared. I'll be hosting the Lunch and Learn for today. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll be able to answer them as best I can. If I can demonstrate them, I will, or if I can verbally explain it, I will. Whatever your question is, just post them inside of the webinar chat, and we may have a discussion going. Welcome. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. All right, we got one. How to refresh a data grid if I have a run flow link in what are the columns that calls the UI to update that row? Ooh, and you have that in a form? Or is it on a dashboard? Because I feel like that one so you have it on a form. Ooh. Probably the best way, so let's see if we can build this out real quick. I think maybe and maybe you can't have this paradigm for some reason, but I believe the best way to have it is instead of using, let's see, create a form, we're gonna say this is data grid, AD data grid form. But you're saying you have a run flow click? Oh, I see what you did. I know what you did. Make sure this is, we'll say we can allow for inline edit, show delete action. Let's say I'm gonna use my accounts type in my environment. Let's call this input accounts. If I can spell accounts, output data, accounts output. And let me make sure I add my button because you always have to have a button. Boom, all right. Now let's go ahead and let's edit this. So we're gonna say we have create by on email. Let's see, oops. We're gonna add a calculated column because we got those. And it's going to be one that calls the UI. I think it's like run. I always forget the name of this one. I think run flow inline field. Nope, it's not that one. That's the different one. It's called like flow something. Where is it? It's not for run flow image URL inline field. Flow inline field. There we go. I think this one should say allow, or maybe it's not flow inline. Let's pick or create flow. I don't think it's flow inline field. I think I had it right the first time. Let's go here. Columns, calculated columns, and run flow. I'm pretty sure it is. Yep, show UI. It is this one. All right. And so I'm going to say this one is display form for edit. Or we're going to say this is edit data. Save. Pick or create flow. We're going to create a new one. This is going to be, yep. Edit form. This is like flow. Inline field. Right. And I'm just going to create a really quick form. You probably have to update it. So, because I know we have create a new one. This is going to be update account. Update first name on record on account. Close and save this. Boom, boom. And then what I'm going to do, this is going to be the hard part because I don't know. This is the hard part because the selected row is dynamic data. So I don't know which one is the first name. We'll have to find that one out because I don't know which one field one is. That's going to be the difficult part. Dynamic data row. Is there any way I can convert that data? I don't think there's an easy way to convert that data. All right, so I got this because I do need to save it somehow. UI, display the UI, perfect. And this is going to be, we'll call this title, edit data. That'll be the name of that column. Or we'll say this is like run the flow. That makes more sense. All right, so now I got this. And I'm actually save this. And we'll call this run my AD grid form. And then I'll grab that recent form that I created, put it here, pick a create, recent, add data grid form. Yeah, that's the one I want. Button. Make sure I fetch the data, fetch entities. Put this one here. And then what we'll do is set this as the accounts data type. Oops, not there. Entity results. Boom. And then I debug. So really the question becomes, so let's say, if we not have another account, oh wait, let me edit this data. So I can edit this data. This is not going to save anything. So I can say this is test bug. And then now it's not going to reflect because I don't have it here. But what you'd have to do is you have to update that data name variable of that specific entry. So what would that look like? I'm going to do something. Let me see if I can try to determine what field we're on. Create data. I'm just going to put this over here. Account, boom, boom, build data. I want all the properties. Or so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. So I think 63, if I were to guess. That's what I'm testing right now. I have no idea. I think 63 is the number I need to remember. If I were to guess with no test, I would say no. I don't think it will. I think what you have to do is you have to go find a way to refresh the data name that's being sourced by it. And then once you do that, then it should. So if I go to edit the flow ID here, and so if I say I want to change value, go to output mappings, and I go to selected row, and I think it's 63. So I go to 63 and I say I want to change the value of it. Perfect. All right, so now I close and save this. Now I'm going to add first name. And so now what we should see is I'm actually going to make this the first row. Is this should be blank because by default, no accounts have that. So I can debug. right? So nothing. But now if I say I want to edit this data and I want to say this is guest user. Let's see. So I don't think, so if I run that way, yeah, I don't think there's a way you could do that because the reason, right, because how this logic works is this is just a variable. So even if I did change that data structure, which I think I did, that's going to be in the back end of the database. But this data is prefetched before that edit. So you would have to create a trigger of an active form flow to say like, hey, like when maybe like once this action happens, let's see if I can do that. Then you have to update the variable name. But because it's, yeah, I don't think there's a way it could, it doesn't refetch the data when that happens. So that's, I think, the issue here of why you can't edit it that way. Now let's see. Now let's see if I debug it again, does it have the data? Okay, so it doesn't have the data. Where's the ID field? I'm gonna do a little, I wanna mess around with this for like 2 more minutes and I'll open the floor to another question. Because yeah, this one is gonna be, you have to determine 2 things. You have to determine the ID, change the ID, or use the ID to update that particular record, and then it will show. So let's go here, edit this. I want to say field 1's the ID, so I think, so let's say we fetch, I want to fetch that account. I'm going to say the account right here. And we're going to go get it by the account ID. And I believe in this case, the account ID will be, we're going to fetch this. I can do that before. I need to do that before. And we're going to go, no results will still go here. Results will still go here. And we're going to add it here. The account ID, we're going to grab it from the selected row, and I think it's the text. I think this is the ID. We'll be able to see this if it isn't. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to update this and say, hey, I want to change value. Darn it. Okay, it's a list, so no, I can't do that. So create data, results, and we're going to do accounts, count of type account. And then what I can do is I can select from flow and grab that first one. And then I can say output mapping account. And I can say change that first name value, change first name to whatever this is. And then after I do that, I have to save that entity, save entities. But I still don't think that's going to show. No, I don't want that. Boom. Type account. And it should be just one entity, yeah. And I'm actually just gonna grab that account that I saved. Boom, all right. So if this works, results grabs that, we should only get one result. And we debug. All right, so I'm gonna change the system and we're gonna say this is system is my name. Boom. Change value on the object. Change value mapping is set to a property on a null. Okay, so it didn't grab that ID. That's what it's saying. I wonder it's because if that selected row is actually being sourced by the data grid, that's why. And it's not based on the property. So let me add this. Account ID, and then we're gonna make this one the first value. And then we're gonna run it. So I wonder if it reads it off the report row. All right. All right, so then we're gonna say, that's guest account, okay. Edit data. This is system. Button. No, it still says it's a null. So yeah, so basically, yeah, that's the process you'd have to do. It's more just muddling around and finding out the ID of what the thing is to update. But then you need to have another process that refreshes that data name of that advanced data grid. I think that's the only way you could do that if it's possible. I honestly think what you should do is you should change your design paradigm to not have a user be able to edit the data in a form, but merely display that information. So that'd be the best way to do that. So that would be the what would need to be, because I think, right, if I do, no, I don't want a form background. Nope. Pick flow ID, edit flow ID. I'm actually just going to show pop up. I'm just curious what the selected value is. Selected row, field one. What is field one? Text value. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want constant. Perfect. So it looks like it should be the ID. Well, that's what's getting there. So test. Unless I didn't map the first value to it. I don't see how it's null. Change value map he's trying to set. So it looks like there's something wrong with my thing. But yeah, that's kind of the sub. That's essentially the situation. Yeah. Any other questions? Say I have a workflow history that has a set of notes for each state record that has gone through. Is it possible to pull all the notes as a list? Workflow history, notes for each state the record has gone through. Is it possible to pull the notes? Are you talking about you just want like the comments of that particular state and not like the actual state itself, or are you looking for the state itself? The comments of said state. Yeah, I think there's a step we can utilize that we can walk through that. I think it's actually called like get comments for particular state. But let's see, I don't think I have a state. That's okay. Create design a project. Let's say get comments for state at root, or yeah, comments for state project. Create a flow, test more stuff flow. And it's like, let's just look up comments and see what we got. Run report folder comments, not what I'm looking for. I think there's a fetch all, fetch decision. You can use a fetch entities because all the comment is just the comment data structure and decisions, which is a default data type right here. And so I can say we can fetch the comments, but that's just going to fetch every comment. So we need to find a way to filter that out. And so we can say, hey, this was created by, created on. I believe there's a state. And you can say for state right here. So I want to see if I can create a really quick one. So if I set a folder to or set a folder so I can filter out by a particular state with the fetch entities, or what I could do is I can create a report, and this would be, I think, more visible. State report filter. Comment data source. And let's just do, I think it's entity name is the actual comment, I think. And if we look at states. Imported. I'm going to create a really quick data structure to demonstrate this. So let's create a flow execution extension. So I'm going to say this is test flow exec. And I can't have spaces, test flow exec. I'm just going to say this is prop 1, and this is prop 2. All right, cool. Got my data structure, pretty simple. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some data to it so we can just kind of see what we got here. My test data. Perfect. And so now, set a process folder. This is just to generate. All this I'm doing is just to generate some test data so that I can actually have something to query so you can actually see the actual data. Merge plain text, system constants, flow data. I will say this is the state. Where's start time? I want start time. I want to add start time, data. And then just save. So now I have a dynamic name. This could be a constant, just whatever. And then prop 2 test. Then I'm going to grab some set states. Set state. In progress. Add comment. Comment. This is a comment. And then the name is going to be able to say this is JRod. I'm just going to copy this one again. So we have, this is another comment. Boom. And then we're going to set the state to something else. We'll say this is completed. Or I'm going to say this is finished. So it's a different name. Right, so I run this. Should go through all those. Perfect. So now what I can say is if I go back to my report here, if I go to comment, and I can just do the comment, any name, state. I wonder if I can say it's, can I add extension data to it? Haha. Oh, wait, extension data. Folder, in folders. No, that's not what I wanted. I can do an in folder filter for folder, pick my test data. Oh, let's run this report. I got no data there. Okay, so if I don't have it there, let me see. Test data. Okay. State report, for folder, entity name, state. Comment. Look up this one. Let's do comment data source. So I can say entity name, import it, and do folder ID. Add extension data, that's the assignments, in folders, joining containing folder, infrastructure, tag filter. Any filters, for folder, I want to pick this folder, my test data. That's the folder it resides in. click here because we got this. Jira, this is a comment. This is a comment. So we should be seeing this. I think there's something I have messed up in my report filter. Not for folder. A name contains created by me. Ah, okay, there it is. So the name is the actual comment. So where's the state? Let's add state here. This will give us some information. There we go. Okay, so what I can do, so let's do this. So I could say field filters state is not empty. And then I have mine. Boom. For the entity folder, that's the thing it lives in. Okay, gotcha. So there, and then I think the comment description, can I do description? Because probably we want to see like what it is. Okay, user, so we can filter by that. That's a helpful thing. I thought there was something, any description. Boom, right here, that's what it is. Boom. So then what you can do is you can filter by a state. So basically you can fetch by the name. Basically it's however you slice your comments, Shane. So if we want to grab the entity name, or if you want to filter by a state, you can use the comment data source and say, hey, for states of a particular, in state is in list, and you can type in progress or this, and then you can find that particular comment, and it's in the entity description of it. So the name of it is just the name of that comment, and then the description actually holds like the text of the comment if you need to like do some audits or some tracking. So that would be one way you can do it. Anytime you can report over this, like anytime you can report over something in decisions, you can also fetch it via a flow. So I could do the same thing with a fetch entity step. I'm just going to delete my steps over here. And we could get the same data. If I do fetch entities, boom, pop this sucker right here. And if I just type comment, and I go for the comment data structure, then add a fetch criteria, which says, hey, I want the state is in list, right? I'm going to say state is in list. And then notice that now I have a list of strings as an option. And so now what I could do, I could pass this in dynamically, or I can set this as a constant and just say, hey, we want this to be in progress. I think that's how I spelled it. So now if I run it, we got no results. I don't think I spelled it in progress. I think I did it without the hyphen. Let's see. Boom, boom. I think it's that. Yeah, that's what it was. Case specificity is always it matters. And boom, and I can grab the comments in the comment description. Comment description, a description, same thing. But now, let's say you have a lot of projects that utilize the same state nomenclature. How do you still fetch it? One thing you can do is you can utilize the parent folder, and then you can say, I only want to fetch the comments that are residing in that particular folder. And then when you run this, right, it's only going to get the comments for that specific project. So that's a cool thing about the fetch entities is you can parameterize that parent folder to say only get the data that resides in this project, and you don't need to worry about fetching other comments in their data. But yeah, comments is just another data structure in decisions that contains values. So you can report over it or fetch it. You may have to find out which part of it has the data that you need, but once you slice it the way you want, it will be there. Mm-hmm. Any other comments or questions? Hello, I'm building the next JS13 app to overlay decisions. How would it be best to build the API between Next.js and decisions, like how to auth users and how to store values? Next.js 13 app to overlay. So you want to place the JS app over. So would you have some ability to help, like you can create JS controls in decisions by if this is a script, a style, a page control, whatever type it is? You can do that through there. That's one avenue. If it's not a specific design control and you just want to like create I don't know, you're just trying to like place a control like on top of a dashboard or some type of visual that people can see. There's a couple of page controls you can use. Let's see, test page controls. Where you can leverage display HTML. If you have a URL, you can pass to decisions where it will display that information, and you can say, I want to run this as inline. That's one way you could do it. You can also specify it via static HTML if you have a specific thing you want to. It just depends on it. There's a couple of factors here. It just depends on like what you want to place it. Do you want decisions to run on your JS13 app, or do you want to run the JS control on decisions? Wanted me to have our own UI over decisions and we write pages. Oh, okay, then that's a different story. Okay, so all you have to do is I'm going to utilize this one. We have external forms. There's actually a control called external form. And we actually have a document over this where you can add your, whatever that form is that you're going to call. If you're using React or JS13 or whatever front end forms you want decisions to point to, you can do that if you want to actually have that specific form run on decisions. If all you need to do is you already have that form running on a web app and you just want to send JSON and XML to decisions, that's a pretty easy thing too. All you have to do is I'm going to create another flow and call this test integrations. Right. And over here, on the top right, you can configure API service, user interface, or webhook in decisions. In your specific use case, I think since you're trying to send data to decisions, you would create an API service, configure what the allowed HTTP methods are. I'm pretty sure it would be post in your case because you want to send data to decisions. And then once you select that, you'll have this view button that you can utilize here. When you click on this view button, it will show you all of the specific ways to send data to decisions, and you can specify your auth type, whether you want it with a named session, a guest login, or stuff right there. Now notice that I don't have any input data into this integration because I haven't defined any. So for example, if I wanted decisions to output data, let me move this really annoying Zoom thing. All right. So if I want to have some data, so let's say I wanted to add, my account data source, right? I'm sending JSON data of an account into decisions to do some data, and then I just want to output a status, right? And we're going to say status output. And we're just going to leave that as a string. Boom. And I'm just going to connect this up. Imagine it does something intelligent, right? We're just going to imagine it's smart. And so now you'll notice when I view this integration, now I have this input of a JSON package for the account data source. So that's why it's relatively large. And then if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see that I'm outputting a string value called status output. So that's kind of the basics of how you'd pass data in. So whatever you want this flow to take in to evaluate, or whatever you want the rule to evaluate, You just merely have to pass it in or define it as a flow structure inside of decisions. And then you can reference that specific type in decisions to process it. Then you design your flow to do whatever you want with it. And then you can tell decisions how you want to handle it on the output. There's a couple of great documents. There's actually one that I was viewing together with the doc team earlier today. I think it's called like View Integration Details. Perfect. Yep, this is exactly what I was looking for. This goes into a lot of great detail about creating an integration for your type of use case so that all decisions does is run flows or rules for you. It will show you API service, as you can see on the screen, some of the auth types we have, authentication name sessions, and then you can even go to that doc on how to create a name session. So it has all the information you'd be looking for to create an endpoint in decisions to accept whatever data your JS13 app outputs. If it's JSON, cool. If it's XML, we could take XML as well. Yeah, my pleasure. Sounds like a cool app you're building. I hope it works out. One last question. A question I have is when you want to take data off a particular website, i.e. weather.com, and use it as a value. For example, if I want to get a degree of a temperature in Celsius and cross-reference with a table I have determining if that means hot or cold. It's actually right. Same question that Scott had. You would use this integration to integrate with other websites. Let's see. So there's another integration settings. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. Wait, external web services. Integrating with external web services. Perfect. Let's see. And so you can do it this way as well. And so this is the document that shows you how to integrate with like, weather.com or like or pretty much any website. A lot of this you'll have to look at the API documentations about that particular website. But I'm going to paste this one inside also the comments section so you can view that. Also, I'll also walk through it a little bit in the decisions portal here. So essentially what you'll be doing is anytime you want to call an external system, right? So you're not calling decisions as a REST service, you're calling an external web API or whatever the thingamabobber is. You're going to click create data types and integrations. Hello, local. There we go. And then you're going to go to external web services, and then you pick whatever web service it is, right? So this is where you'll have to research like the website you're actually pulling from. Most cases, it's open API, so you can be confident with the REST service. And then you put the service name, the service URL, and then any authentication that it needs, right? So if if it has enabled mutual auth, you can enable mutual auth and upload the certificate. Whatever it is, you just add that service name of what you want to call it. The service name is just what the name of it would be. So this could be whatever you want. The service URL, however, is the actual URL that it will be calling. And once you create that, you create specific methods. There's actually a great, let me open this up and show you. The types. Perfect. So this is a server that we use for testing. And over here, you'll see that we have this insurance service. So if I completed not this, going back, if I completed this form, what would happen is you would get a folder created in whatever, a subfolder created in the particular designer project folder you started that form with. And then you can go inside of this to see any methods that you want to call, right? So that API documentation that you have, right, you're going to have a lot of different methods that you can call once you get the base portal. And then you merely add those. And then you add whatever the URL relative to base is, you give it a name, right? Let's edit this one so you can see like a working one. So as you can see here, right, I give the relative URL to base here. I say what type of method it is. If I have any specific was it post body parameters I need to pass through. I can paste that here and just say specify. Or if I need to get it from a string in a flow that I serialize through it, you can even do that as well. It can be dynamic. And if let's say you know what the specific request body is, you can put these little curly braces around it, and then that will be the flow step variable that REST integration will have. So if you're trying to say, hey, what is 60 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius, right? You can say, okay, like once you put that in there, it will pass in the 60 degrees, call that web service that converts it to Celsius and gives you like, oh, it's around like, 15, you're like 10, 15 degrees Celsius, approximately, you know. Um, so that would be how that would work of calling external REST services. Any other questions? Yeah, my pleasure. All right, any other questions? What is a good indicator to determine if something is a flow issue versus something that would require to go into the query editor? It's that would be that's a interesting question. It's a little loaded. I would say have it like in some troubleshooting steps to like that like you don't really want to touch anything in the back end via a query. And for as much as possible, you want to interface everything with the flow designer as much as possible if you're like reading or writing data. So, I mean, I only use the query editor just to confirm like data is there. I don't write or edit or change anything in the back with a query editor unless I like absolutely need to. Everything I do is in the flow because sometimes when you edit something in the back end, it may not be reflective in the front end. Because it has to call because you're circumventing what we call the ORM, the object relational mapping editor, which takes in the backend database stuff and puts it in the flow designer. So that's why we try to refrain as much as possible from just directly querying. But it would just be if it's in your corresponding troubleshooting process, right? If you confirm everything's good on that end and you're not getting the correct data, okay, well, let me confirm that the data at the end is, in the database is what I want it to be, right? So I think it's like kind of like going through your list of troubleshooting steps, and maybe that would be the last one to check. Hey, is it in the database? But to answer your question directly, there's really no indicator. It's like just have a troubleshooting process that you iterate through to see what could be causing the issue. Or you could just read the logs. It all depends on what the issue is, right? I think the first step always for all errors is view the logs. Go to your system, go to your administration, go through your system tools, go to your, you can go to logging, read the logs. Is there any errors happening? Go to event viewer, see if there's any, what's the load of the system, right? We can go to, let's see, not this one, flow management. Are there any running flows that are running that could be causing some issues that's just hanging, right? So there's so many options that it could be. It just depends on what the specific is. There you go. Perfect as a document. Yeah, the query editor isn't really a troubleshooting step. It's more of you look at logs, look at what the system activity is, use the global debugger, debug, view inputs and outputs of steps, and usually that will give you an indicator of what's happening. Here's this doc link for some best practices in troubleshooting. Any other questions? All right. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now so that we can get it mixed and you guys can be able to review this at your own leisure. Tomorrow is October 12th, and Cameron Irby with the support team will be running the Lunch and Learn. It's really good. He'll give you some great perspectives on troubleshooting the project or the product. So a really good, it will be a really good session, so I advise you guys all to join. With that being said, thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you guys next time.